You're listening to the Open Books Podcast.
Your next chapter starts now.
Is it love, 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 love that I'm feeling? Is it love, 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 love that I'm feeling? Is she the one?
Hello, and welcome back to the Open Books Podcast. Today, we're chatting all things Gypsy motherfucking Rose, and I'm excited to jump into it. I'm Amber.
And I'm Colby, and I'm also so excited to jump into Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
The Gypsy Rose of it all.
The Gypsy Rose of it all. So, first of all, thank y'all so much for being here and listening. We read Gypsy Rose Blanchard's new book, so y'all didn't have to if you don't want to. We read it for y'all, and we're going to recap everything that she said. It was a super short read.
Short. It was like less than 200 pages.
Yes, yeah. I got through it pretty quickly. And it's really, the format is not, it's not like a regular book.
No, I enjoyed the format.
Yeah, because it was like interviews with Gypsy and the writer of the book through their telephone conversations while she was in prison. And then it was like little excerpts that I guess she had written herself, and then the author kind of threw them in there. She might have edited them or whatever, but it was Gypsy's innermost thoughts.
Yeah, it was like her experience in prison.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was things that if you are familiar with her case, you already kind of knew the story, but it was just like her insight on it and her actual thoughts and opinions. It was less about the crime, I felt like, and more about like just her own inner feelings.
Right, like how she's doing now as an adult.
Yeah, how she compartmentalized everything that she went through.
Yeah.
So,
You want to just jump into the summary?
yeah, I was like, wait, because we're doing something different.
I was about to say, our new format really just kind of like lets us jump right into the book.
Yeah, let's do it. So, okay. I am going to kind of give y'all background on Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story. If you're not familiar with it, although I'm sure most people are, I definitely was someone who watched her HBO documentary and The Act. So going into this, I felt like I was well-versed in Miss Gypsy.
Well-versed.
Did you watch both as well?
Yes.
Okay. So this book was created with writers Melissa Moore and Michelle Matrinzikini. Sorry if I said that wrong, Michelle. It is called Released: Confessions on the Eve of Freedom, and it is a declaration of Gypsy's resolve to turn her pain into perseverance, take accountability for her actions, and help others escape the trap that consumed her life for so long. Gypsy Rose Blanchard discovered that her whole life was a lie. After 8.5 years of incarceration, she can finally tell you the truth with this exclusive collection of interview transcripts and journal entries, plus her own illustrations and photos. So this book, like I said, it was really short read, and it was told from Gypsy's own words and exclusive phone call interviews with one of the authors who wrote the book for her. Gypsy gives the details of her life and on the web of lies that led to the death of her own mother. This book didn't go into great details about the actual crime that was committed, the murder of Gypsy Rose's mother, Claudine D.D. Blanchard, but rather we get Gypsy's innermost thoughts and reflections on what she went through and where she's at now. Gypsy says that this book is just a glimpse into her memoir that she's writing, where she will tell more of the whole story. But she wanted to use this book as a way to get her side of things out there sooner, as a preview for people who are interested. So a memoir is going to follow this. Gypsy was 24 years old when her then boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, murdered her mother in cold blood inside their home in Missouri. Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years in prison for her role in the murder, while Nick received life in prison for committing the murder. Here's a brief little overview of the case for those of you who may not be familiar with it, and then we can get into some of the exclusive things that Gypsy revealed about her side of the story in this book. So this was a case summary that I found from a website called biography.com, and it was written by Miss Sarah Kettler. So thank you, Sarah. Gypsy Rose Blanchard grew up with her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, making claims about her health that resulted in a series of dire diagnoses and medical interventions. However, Gypsy wasn't actually unwell. Her mother had been lying about her symptoms. Experts believe Dee Dee's behavior stemmed from a mental disorder called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Because Dee Dee wanted to be a caretaker, she feigned and induced illnesses within her daughter. The truth about Gypsy and her mother only came out after Gypsy arranged for an online boyfriend to murder Dee Dee in 2015. Gypsy Rose, who was born in 1991, was a baby when Dee Dee claimed her daughter had sleep apnea. When Gypsy was 8 years old, Dee Dee described her as suffering from leukemia and muscular dystrophy and said she required a wheelchair and a feeding tube. The list of medical problems that Dee Dee related about her daughter would go on to include seizures, asthma, and hearing and visual impairments. Due to Dee Dee's action, Gypsy was prescribed a litany of medications and had to use a sleep machine to breathe. She also went through multiple surgeries, including procedures on her eyes and removal of her salivary glands. When Gypsy's teeth rotted, perhaps due to her medications and missing salivary glands or neglect, they were ended up pulling out. Yet, the truth was that Gypsy could walk. She didn't need a feeding tube, and she didn't have cancer. Her head was bald only because her mother shaved off her hair. Experts believe Dee Dee had a mental illness known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which made her fabricate her daughter's ill health in order to receive attention and sympathy of taking care of a sick child. Dee Dee appeared to be charming, a devoted mother, so many people believed her. Gypsy's medical tests often showed inconclusive or contradictory results regarding Gypsy's diagnoses, but Dee Dee would not stop seeing any doctors. No, she would stop seeing any doctors who questioned her daughter's ailments, and many caregivers went along with what Dee Dee wanted. She had some nursing training, so she could accurately describe symptoms, and she sometimes gave Gypsy medications to mimic certain conditions. Dee Dee was also charming and seemed devoted to her daughter. When Gypsy was old enough to talk, Dee Dee instructed her not to volunteer information during their appointments. She was always the one relating Gypsy's fake medical history. Dee Dee told Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder that had led to her many health issues. He complimented Dee Dee for her devoted care. When some of Dee Dee's family noticed that Gypsy didn't seem to need a wheelchair and started to ask questions, Dee Dee and Gypsy moved away. Dee Dee claimed to be a victim of Hurricane Katrina, so she and Gypsy received assistance to relocate from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005. There, Dee Dee continued to bring Gypsy to doctor appointments. Hurricane Katrina also provided an excuse for missing medical files on Gypsy. Even when Gypsy was a teenager, Dee Dee still claimed she was sick and began to lie about Gypsy's age. In 2008, Gypsy and Dee Dee moved into a new home in Springfield, Missouri. Built by Habitat for Humanity, it was painted pink and had a wheelchair ramp. Gypsy and Dee Dee also received benefits that included charity-sponsored visits to concerts and Disney World. All along, Dee Dee continued to bask in the attention that she received for being a devoted caretaker. When Gypsy was 14, she saw a neurologist in Missouri who came to believe she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. However, this doctor never reported her case to the authorities. In later interviews, he stated his belief that there wasn't enough evidence to act. In 2009, an anonymous report was made to authorities stating that Dee Dee's account of Gypsy's ailments had no medical basis. This resulted in 2 caseworkers visiting their home, but Dee Dee convinced them that there was nothing wrong. As Gypsy grew older, Dee Dee began to lie about her age, going as far as to alter the dates on her birth certificate to make her daughter seem younger. But Gypsy was still becoming harder and harder for Dee Dee to control. In 2011, Gypsy tried to get away from her mother by running away with a man she met at a science fiction convention. But Dee Dee soon tracked them down via mutual friends. She convinced the man that Gypsy was a minor, though she was actually 19 at the time. According to Gypsy, Dee Dee smashed her computer and physically restrained her to her bed after they returned home. Gypsy also stated her mother would sometimes hit her and deny her of food. Gypsy eventually managed to get back online, and she joined a Christian dating site where she met Nicholas Godejohn. She told him the truth about her mother's actions and ended up asking him to kill Dee Dee so they could be together. In June of 2015, he came to her house and stabbed Dee Dee while Gypsy waited, ears covered, in the bathroom. Gypsy and Godejohn returned to his home in Wisconsin, where they were found by police. Gypsy had twice posted to the Facebook account she shared with her mother, once writing, "That bitch is dead." She later explained that she made the post because she wanted her mother's body to be discovered. Gypsy was afraid and believed she didn't have anyone to trust. After Dee Dee's murder, many people who had known Gypsy wondered why she had gone as far as to kill her mom. Since she could walk, she simply could have exposed Dee Dee's lies by standing up in public. Yet Gypsy had been conditioned to think no one would believe her. She explained, "I couldn't just jump out of the wheelchair because I was afraid. I didn't know what my mother would do. I didn't have anyone to trust." The fact was that Gypsy had spent her entire life being controlled and monitored by her mother. She wasn't allowed to go to school. Although Gypsy was of normal intelligence, Dee Dee told everyone that her daughter had the mental age of 7. When they were out in public, Dee Dee constantly held Gypsy's hand, squeezing it when she wanted her daughter to be quiet. Dr. Mark Feldman, an expert on Munchausen syndrome by proxy, said Gypsy's life and actions. This is what he said of that. The control was total in the same sense that the control of a kidnapped victim sometimes is total. Her daughter was, in essence, a hostage, and I think we can understand the crime that occurred subsequently in the terms of a hostage trying to escape. Gypsy had stated it was only after Dee Dee's death that she realized the extent of her mother's deception. While Gypsy had known she could walk and eat regular food, she had believed she had leukemia. Today, Gypsy is healthy. She also said that she enjoyed more freedom in prison than the life she shared with her mother, Dee Dee. However, when asked by Dr. Phil if she was glad her mother was dead, she stated, "I'm glad that I'm out of that situation, but I'm not happy that she's dead." So, that was an overview of Gypsy's story, and here are just some of the main things from the book that were interesting. Gypsy's very much aware that she committed a real crime and was 100% adamant that she took full responsibility for her part in it. She knows that conspiring to kill her mother was wrong, and she wishes she had gone about her situation differently. It's clear that Gypsy carries guilt for not reaching out to others and asking for help. While she acknowledges her wrongdoings, she still states in the book all the ways that she was manipulated by her mother. For most of her life, she really did believe that she had all of these illnesses. The only thing she really knew was that she could actually walk. Of course, as she got older, she started to put the pieces together and realized that she might have been being held captive by her own mother, which is what led to conspiring to murder Dee Dee with her boyfriend Nick. She felt that was her only way out. But Gypsy had no real social life. She stopped going to school and getting a real education after the 2nd grade, and the only thing she knew about the real world all came from her mother's perspective in prison. Gypsy read lots of books, took many classes, got an equivalent of a high school degree, and was even engaged to a man named Ken, who broke up with her because he couldn't handle all of the pressure. So her heart was broken by him. She was addicted to painkillers, and she was spending her parents' money on drugs. She decided to change her life around and be a better person. She found religion again and relies heavily on God and her faith, and she made lifelong friendships. She made amends with others in her family, and she worked on her relationship with her father and stepmother. She met her now husband Ryan, got married to him, and her mission is to spread awareness about Munchausen by proxy syndrome. And that's really it, y'all. That was a recap of her crime and kind of like the exclusives that we got in the book, which we'll dive into.
That was so necessary.
It was a lot.
Because you can't just like can't dump into the book. You can't jump into her book without having all that information.
Right. Because then you won't understand where she's coming from or the things that she's saying. You have to know what happened to her.
Crazy.
So if you were going to read this book and you didn't know Gypsy's story, you wouldn't understand what was going on because she didn't talk about it really.
No.
Which I found interesting.
Just kind of like picked up where she was at in prison, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's kind of like jump into some of our talking points. In the book, she says she was told in prison that she hasn't qualified for therapy because she was too well. She found this comical considering her whole life she was told she was unwell. But she was able to get a hold of really meaningful books that taught her a lot about herself and what she went through. Now on podcasts, she claims she's in real therapy.
I found that so interesting that she was told no to therapy. I also listened to another podcast about Gypsy where they claimed that she denied therapy. So I don't know where the discrepancy is. In Gypsy's words, she said that she was told she couldn't get therapy, like resources or services in prison.
It's hard for me to believe that.
Me too.
Again, like I don't know the inner workings of prison, maybe, but I just feel like if they're offering that to inmates,
she would be one of the first runners.
She would be a candidate for it just because of the trauma she went through as a kid.
Yeah, so I do wonder what the truth is there. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get like the full truth
and that's
of all of it.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about this story is we really will only ever know what Gypsy decides to tell the public.
Gypsy controls the narrative.
She really does.
She controls it.
But I'm glad she is interested in therapy now. She did say that that's something she wanted to do when she gets out of prison. And then I was listening to a podcast she did with Nick Vial, and she said that she was in therapy already. So,
which is good.
Yeah, and she was like, I want to keep learning and to keep getting better, which is something she says a lot.
A lot, even in the book. And it does seem like she does want to be held accountable.
Definitely.
Or take accountability, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I felt like she was pretty adamant about that in the book. She was like, I want to take responsibility for my part.
I did what I did. Okay.
And I meant it.
And I meant it. She also says that she realized how toxic her attachment to her mother was. Attachment styles start at a young age, and most people's relationship with their mothers at a young age affect them for the rest of their lives. She said her mother made her feel insecure and unworthy of love. She made her fight for her love. She used love as a reward and a punishment, withdrawing it on demand. Gypsy said she knew the things I was afraid of, like being alone in the dark. As I got older and the dark scared me less, my mother would smash my things with a hammer. I would just cry and say, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. Just love me.
That's really sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah, there's no doubt that she was a victim of her mother in so many ways.
Absolutely.
And what she says about attachment styles are very true. I feel like the relationship you have with your caregiver absolutely affects your life going forward.
There's so many crossovers of that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if that's what she knew as a kid, then
That's all you know.
That's all you know. And her mother very much isolated her from anything or anybody else. So the part about preying on her fears and like locking her in the dark, just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and it all just goes back to like Dee Dee wanted to be needed. It almost feels like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like preying on her fears, like
doing
because
whatever she could to make Gypsy
need her.
exactly. In the documentaries, I found so interesting. Like no one fucked with Dee Dee. Everybody thought she was crazy. Everybody thought she was ill intent in everything that she did. She always had ulterior motives. She always was looking for attention. She was constantly lying. So like all of that goes to show that she was a very manipulative person, and she definitely, I think, was unwell mentally. She was not okay.
Well, and I can't remember if it was in the book, in a documentary, somewhere in the whole Gypsy world, that Dee Dee wanted to be like famous, didn't she?
Yes, they did say that. She was in pageants. I think it was Rod, the dad, who said that she was kind of like a beauty queen in the making. She really wanted to be in the spotlight. And then like it just wasn't happening for her.
Which is weird that she didn't take that route with Gypsy. And instead like convinced her that she was sick, convinced everyone that she was sick.
Yeah.
Instead of just like making her a beauty pageant queen.
I know. Well, a lot of people speculate that it all started when she was a baby and had, I think this is what Christy, the stepmother, said. She said when she first noticed Dee Dee doing this was when Gypsy had an eye issue. She had like a lazy eye or something, and her eye kind of wandered, and that was real. So that led to doctor's appointments and things like that. And I think she might have got attention from that, and that might have been where it all spanned.
It's just so wild to me because, and I get it, it's definitely a mental
for sure
disorder, because why would you want your kid to be sick?
I know. And that's why it really is a mental disorder.
Because like, I can't wrap my brain around that.
No, it's sick. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is one of the most bizarre mental illnesses in this entire world. And something Gypsy says a lot is that there's not enough awareness about it. People don't know enough about it. And I can totally agree with that. Yeah, you don't hear about it a lot.
You really don't.
And maybe it's because it's so rare, because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But it is one of, like I said, the most bizarre things in the world. Because a mother's instinct is to protect her child and make sure her child is healthy and happy. So for you to do the opposite of that and hurt your child for your own gain, goes against like every literal law of nature and what it means to be a mom.
Yep. Because that's like when people who have been kidnapped that fall in love with the kidnapper. Isn't that Munchausen?
Yes. Okay, there's a word for it.
What is it?
It's gonna drive me nuts.
But
I'll
like
let you know if I think of
rely
it.
on your person.
Yes, and you have love for them.
Hold on,
Google
I need to look
it real
up.
quick. When you fall in love with your captor, or when you rely on them to take care of you, we see that a lot in the book.
There, when you fall Stockholm.
That's what it is. Stockholm syndrome.
Coping mechanism to captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings towards their captors or abusers over time. This condition applies to situations including child abuse, coach to athlete abuse, relationship abuse, and sex trafficking.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So I was confusing the two.
But they're similar situations.
But they are similar.
Well, and even that in that description, one of the doctors had said she was like a fugitive within her own home.
Right.
And it started from when she was a baby.
And I get that. Like, I see that for this situation.
Me too. Like that, yeah, all of that is 100% true.
Yes.
Will never be taken away from Gypsy that was her experience.
Wild. So she also says that she's unlearning to be such a huge people pleaser.
Yeah.
Honestly, we are too.
We feel you, Gypsy.
her whole life before prison, she was living it solely for the acceptance of her mother and doing what she was told in order for her mom to treat her well.
Hello.
She says being a people pleaser requires you to submit a part of yourself to the person you aim to please. You give up your own needs and desires and put the person's interests in front of your own. In return, you expect a payment in the form of acceptance. This is kind of a currency. It's very dangerous because the cost is you. And that's a direct quote. And when I read that in the book, I was like, damn, that is powerful.
Yeah, Gypsy spoke facts.
She was spitting facts because I never thought of it that way.
I have never thought of it that way. And people pleasing is something we have both been adamant people
Struggling
pleasers
with.
forever. Yeah. And like in this newfound era of our life, we're kind of being more aware of the way we act and respond to people. A huge way that and I think this is very common for so many people, is to be a people pleaser. The way she put it, I had never really thought of, but it's to put the person's interest in front of your own. In return, you expect payment in the form of acceptance. The kind of currency is dangerous because the cost is you. And that's so true.
It is because
the cost is you.
It's like that. It's almost like I don't want to call it like a dopamine hit, but like, good job. That's great. I've never seen anything as good as this. And it's like, I'm doing it for you.
I'm literally doing it for you.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's super
And
strange.
also like, just like, not so much anymore. Like we've definitely come a long way.
Absolutely.
Long way.
Yeah.
But it used to be like, for me, I just didn't want to like let people down. So I was like, wait, I'll do it. No problem.
And I would do things or say things that really weren't true to what I believed or what I thought.
So true.
And I noticed, and this is me just getting raw and real, but Gypsy even said this too. She's like, I was doing things that I didn't believe in because I was trying to please my mother. I used to notice about myself, even in high school, I was such a people pleaser that I would do things that weren't true to who I was, weren't true to who I thought. I would say things even in conversations about people around me, not because I felt that way about a person, but because someone else was saying it.
Because everyone else was saying it.
And
so
I
you were
was
just like,
exactly. And
Yeah.
then I'd go home and be like, that was fake of you almost.
spot on.
And I would go home feeling like I'm a fake person. And I have to really come to terms with I'm not. I just was such a heavy people pleaser that I will say
It's
or
an
do
awareness.
things, that are in agreement with the people around me because of a people pleaser tendency. But now that we have this awareness, I can take a step back from that and not be that way because you have to be true to yourself and what you feel.
Right. And honestly, it's like people will accept you for that or
Yeah.
they don't.
Or
and
they
like,
don't.
if you just want to say things that, I just won't
Yeah.
be around. And that's okay.
Yes. And you have to be okay with that.
It's okay. Like,
So this level of what we're saying, Gypsy must have felt on a whole nother level because if
we're over here like friendships.
right, exactly. But if as she got older, she realized that she was being untruthful or deceitful about being able to walk, but she was doing it to please her mother.
Right.
But that's at the cost of her being a huge liar,
yes.
to the world.
And like the Habitat for Humanity, like I know she felt so bad for that. And how old was she when this went down?
So
She was born in 91.
yeah, I think she was maybe around 15 by the time. And they were claiming that she was like a 12-year-old.
Right. And so like having that level of like guilt at 15,
That's so hard.
it's hard.
And she says that a lot in the book, that one thing she wants to do is give back to the people that she hurt. And she says that I hurt, I'm guessing because she knows that deep down she knew that she was being deceitful with her
wrong.
mother, and that's not to say that it was her fault because she was so caught up in the life that was forced onto her, but she still knew. And that is something that is relatable. Obviously, Gypsy's to a whole nother level, but there are so many things, and I know people can relate to this, that you do at a certain age, 15, where your brain is still developing.
Yes.
That you're like, why did I do that? But she was just really under like the crazy pressure of her insane mother.
It's damn.
But that quote was profound.
That quote stuck with me because I think throughout a lot of the book, and look, like we were saying earlier, like we'll never know.
Right.
But she does seem as though she's taking a lot of accountability of her actions just about through the book alone.
100%. I agree.
I don't know if we get into it anywhere else, but she talks about like the fame.
Yeah.
It's kind of a side note.
Yeah.
And she says something about like I'm a murderer, like famous for being a murderer, somewhere along those lines. Like, don't quote me, but something like that in the book.
Yeah, that she's not proud of the reason that she is in the limelight.
That's what it is.
Yeah, she says that.
Okay. Gypsy also said she experimented with lots of different phases in prison. I thought this was so interesting.
Me too.
It felt like high school for her, and it was the most free she's been in her whole life. She said she even experimented with being sexual with the girls and was a pillow princess a few times. I was like,
hilarious.
Holy shit. Which is someone who receives sexual pleasure, but doesn't reciprocate.
Found that so interesting. First of all, Gypsy is funny. Like the
She
way
really
she talks,
is.
she's like hee hee, and then it would put in like parentheses giggles because you know how she's got that like little giggle. She's like, I was a pillow princess, hee hee.
It really was like giggles.
Giggle, and then
And-
the
but you
lady
could
was like,
picture
"What does
it.
that mean?" And she's like, "Just think about it." And I literally Googled it because I didn't know, and I was like, "Oh,
I did the same thing.
did you really?"
Well, at first I was like, okay, pillow princess. I thought she was just like, getting with the girls.
Yeah.
It's prison.
right.
But when I looked it up, I was like, oh,
She was really.
Gypsy.
Mhm. She is too funny.
She is hilarious.
Yeah, she is. And I just found like her whole experience with like sexual actions was really interesting because prison was the first time she was able to really explore that in her own way, because she talks about Nick a lot, which we will get into, but he was like her first experience, like sexual experience with a person.
Right.
And she feels like it was tainted because of Nick's mental illnesses and how he was really into BDSM. And she felt like he kind of introduced her to things that she normally, if she had a regular life, wouldn't have been her first experience.
Right. And when you have like such a crazy upbringing that she did, like you think that's like
That's okay.
normal
Yeah.
and what love is like.
And that's what she thought.
Yep.
And so now that she kind of got to experience other things, she's like, wait a minute there. And she talks about this at the end of the book with her husband.
Yes.
She was excited to get to be intimate with him in a way that was like natural to her and in real life.
Yes.
The way that she had an experience with Nick was like, she claims, this is all alleged from Gypsy's mouth, that it was his sexual deviancy and his sexual fantasies that he played out through her, not really what she would have wanted to be as her first experience.
Right.
So
Which
she was a little pillow
makes
princess.
sense. So she became a pillow princess, which like,
Yeah. What else you gonna do?
what are you going to do?
What else you gonna
Like,
do?
what are you going to do?
And it was funny. She said she went through like an emo phase in there. And she like
Yes.
loved heavy metal music. And I was like, okay, Gyps, she's getting what she never got.
She never got. And
Yeah.
she really did experience that through prison, which almost is like, I'm glad you got to experience that because that's
Me
like
too.
such a pivotal point of like growing up. Like you go through these phases. Like I was a skater and was wearing etnies and like trying to skateboard
Right.
in middle school. And then it was more like punk. Like I was wearing those little bows,
Yep. It's not a phase.
not the
Mom.
cute little bows we're wearing now. Like those little like
Oh my God.
little girl bows.
Yeah.
And you would like bangs would go across the face. And
You
would
had like
clip
a
it with
heavy side part.
Heavy side part with a little clip.
The poof.
So-
we all had the poof phase.
The poof. We all went through like the Jersey Shore phase, the Hollister and Abercrombie phase. Like it's so necessary and it builds character.
It
so
does.
I'm so glad Gypsy got to explore herself in prison.
Me too. And she says this a lot too, that before prison, she was a 19-year-old who was forced to live in a Disney World fantasy. I mean, she said all she could
that's such
watch.
a good point.
Yes, all she could watch was Disney movies on repeat. Like when you're 19, that's crazy.
You don't want to do that.
You stop watching Disney princess movies around, I don't know, 10 maybe. Even at that point, you're kind of moving on to the Disney shows. Like at that age, I was watching Hannah Montana.
Right. Like
you know?
you go into Disney Channel and then you go
Exactly.
back to Disney movies.
Exactly, you know, here and there.
Here
But
and
that's
there.
all she was like saw. That's all she knew. So she just lived in this like childlike mindset. She was like this adult trying to be free.
Okay. This is a side note, and I'm really not trying to go off on a tangent.
It's fine. It's our podcast.
But you saying that, I came across like a few TikToks that were people talking about how when they were kids, they were aware that they were kids, but they were like not interested in kid things. They were just
Wow.
like, I know. And it's like not ever something that I've thought about. I might have experienced this more of like when I was a teenager. I don't know. But basically the examples that were given were like, they were not interested in playing toys.
Okay.
But they knew, they had this like awareness that like
I'm a child.
I'm 8, like I'm supposed to play with toys. How do you, like, what are your...
And that just makes me feel even more freaked out and claustrophobic for Gypsy, because I feel like she had to be feeling that way. I don't really care about this stuff.
Right, but I know I'm supposed to please my mom.
Exactly. And I'm only 12 when she's really 15.
Right. And the situations are different, right?
Yes.
Like the people on TikTok are saying like, I was aware that I was a kid and I'm aware I'm supposed to like these things, but internally, like,
What do you think
I don't
they
feel
liked
8.
instead?
I don't know. They probably talked about it, but I just thought that whole concept was crazy.
That is crazy. I don't think I had that experience. Like I remember always being pretty much like on par with what I was interested in. Like when I moved on to the Disney Channel, that's the phase that I was in. I find that concept really interesting too.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and it really does make me feel like...
And there were people in the comments like, oh my gosh, I've experienced this too, but I never knew what this was, and I didn't know anyone else did. Like, I thought I was just having a weird thought.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, well, I'm glad they were able to connect with each
like,
other.
No, like, I kind of was always like...
Yeah, I feel like I was
kid.
always on like par with what I was doing, matched my age, if that makes sense.
Even though I was in like 8th grade, maybe like 7th or 8th grade, and I still very much like... wanted to play school. Like I very much still wanted to like be a kid.
Yeah. So
So,
you're the
like-
opposite of those people.
Yeah, like I was very much like in secret, like still wanting
Yeah.
to like
I want to play with Barbie.
play Barbies, but like at school it was like, girl, we in 8th grade.
Girl, I said a B word now.
Like, we got boyfriends, like, you know.
We got a man.
So it's so crazy, like how different.
That
I
is
like kept
crazy.
that a closet secret.
Yeah. I'm glad
And
you
then
got
I
that off
finally
your
was
chest.
like, we have to part ways.
we have to
we
let
have
go of the
to part
Barbie dolls.
ways.
I have to grow up.
Yeah. So
I do feel claustrophobic when I think about Gypsy being forced to watch like Disney movies at the age of 15, where you just want to like talk to boys and like explore, and she just could not.
She couldn't. She was not allowed that. I mean, call it a luxury.
Yeah.
But it's such a, like when you think about psychology, like basic psychology 101, and you're learning about, what are the theories? But like Sigmund Freud and that's literally part of the phases. Erik Erikson's whatever of life. Like,
the Bloom's talks about blah, 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 all those crazy
Yes.
things, but it's like those were your stages of your brain.
you have to go
need.
through those stages
Yeah, and she just did not.
into adulthood. So like, it's really crazy for her to like, get these experiences in prison, because that's just like not a quote unquote normal experience, and just like navigate life post prison. It's wild.
It is her whole situation.
So you were touching on Nick, the Nick of it all. So when talking about Nick in the book, she refers to him as a sexual predator. She said he made her so do odd sexual things that she knows are like typically viewed as disturbing, like sending her a dildo from Japan and making her send videos of herself to him, to which she responded that she wasn't doing it right. And then he introduced her to BDSM, made her call him master, and she feels that completely warped her views on what a relationship should be. And since she was so used to pleasing her mother for love, she thought Nick and this relationship was normal too. Like she had to do things to please him. So I guess like we could jump into like the Nick of it all.
The Nick of it all. Okay. So the Nick of it all, it is a tough subject. We have to teeter lightly because there's so much that goes into it. After watching the act kind of made you feel a little bit for Nick.
Yes,
because
did.
it played on the different things that he has, autism, Asperger's, all the different things that he has that make him maybe react and respond to Gypsy in a certain way that like maybe an atypical person would not.
Right.
So it makes you feel for him a little bit. However, Gypsy seems to have a different view of him completely. She's like not here to glamorize Nick in any way. Or she's like, Nick's doing his time. He did the crime, and that is what it is.
Yeah, that is how she portrays it.
Yeah.
I think it was almost the act in a way, okay, I'm not saying completely,
Right.
almost played on like he was a victim too.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. Definitely, you saw him as a victim the way that...
Like he was manipulated
Yes.
by Gypsy, who was manipulated by her mother.
Right. That's exactly
But
it.
I think that's like the treading lightly. It's like you really...
And we really don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what the real truth is. I know I read the discourse online, and a lot of people do think that Nick was a victim of Gypsy.
Right.
And that he should not get a lifetime of prison.
Was it proven about the BDSM stuff? Like, is that actually fact?
Well, there definitely is pictures and text messages between the two of them.
Got it.
For sure, of him pushing
Okay.
BDSM.
I couldn't remember, and it was in the documentary, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, and there's definitely messages between them where that he's introducing her to these like really dark kind of fantasies. There's proof of messages between them when he talks about having multiple personalities, and Gypsy absolutely played into that. Now, granted, like we said, Gypsy doesn't know.
No.
She never was exposed to friendships where they talked about boys, even real TV shows where they talked about boys. I think she just did like a lot of like research online.
Right.
But-
and I think that's probably, wasn't that where Nick like got a lot of it from too?
Yeah,
Online?
definitely. I think neither one of them had like real experience with real people
Yeah.
before each other.
I wonder if he'll ever speak out,
I know.
but I don't think they're giving him that platform.
And if he has ever spoken out, it's not in a big way because we have not.
I haven't heard about it.
Let us know if y'all have ever seen anything that he says for his side of it. I'm sure he would like to, because I do find it interesting that he committed the crime for her. Never like it was a crime nonetheless. It was murder. He murdered mom.
He murdered.
There's also it's way more layered than just he murdered the mom. There's proof of messages between them where he says he wanted to rape her dead body.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's like,
That's probably not someone who should be in the real world. You know, walking free.
No. And I think that's probably why he doesn't necessarily like get to share his side.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
And it does make you wonder though, if these two, it was almost like the perfect storm that these two met and started talking. If she had been in an online relationship with maybe someone else and she asked him to kill her mother, maybe they'd have said no. You know what I mean? Like other people might have said no. So he committed murder no matter what.
Yeah.
But like, I guess the question is maybe did he deserve some type of like rehabilitation center to get him help? He definitely was like mentally ill. He had issues.
He did have issues.
And he did it for Gypsy. You know, I don't know if I don't know if he would have committed murder in his lifetime had he not met Gypsy. So I don't know.
Which is crazy to think about.
When worlds collide, you just never know. So that is tough. She seems very cold when it comes to Nick. She's like, I think she looks at him as a predator. Like we said, she made that clear.
Yep.
Even in the description of the book, it says it led her mother's like tyranny or whatever led her into the arms of another abuser. And I think they're talking about Nick, calling him an abuser. So it's really interesting.
And it is like, it only makes sense. And she talks about this a lot in the book, how weird and like misconstrued and like the way she trusted people. Like there was either she trusted way too easily, got her into some shit in prison, and like look at like her mom and Nick of it all. And then she would like put a wall up. Yeah. And that's also like not a way to like build relationships. So
right.
it's just crazy, for lack of a better word. It's just crazy
how it all came together and how these two came together and this event happened. It was like so many bad things happened leading up to this. And like I said, it was like a perfect storm when those two met online.
And then, like speaking about things that she feels strongly about, like she did not appreciate how the act, like was made in general and how it like portrayed her. Did that surprise you?
It kind of did. I remember when the act came out, I watched interviews of Joey King, who played Gypsy Rose. And she said this is a hard place to be and a hard role to play because it's a real person, her real story, and she's still like alive. Like she still is here. She said that they never spoke to Gypsy. I don't think they had permission to speak to Gypsy or anything like that. So I remember thinking, wow, that is kind of crazy. I wonder what Gypsy thinks of the act. I don't know. I just thought she might think it was cool, really, to have
like a show
like
being
made
young and you have a show made about you.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
considering the show,
I was wrong. Gypsy does not seem happy at all.
She was not down for it.
She threw a lot of shade at Miss Joey King. She said that she never had a say in the show. She doesn't want to watch the show.
Which I get. I wouldn't want to watch it either.
Yeah, she's like, I lived it. Like, I don't want to relive it.
Right. I don't want to watch a dramatization of my life. And if things were like not completely
that would drive
to
me crazy.
Fact, right. I think I'd be the same way. Like I would just stay away from it. And she also talks about how that when the act came out, it like completely changed like the dynamics in prison for her.
Oh, yeah. That made me sad for her. She had no say in that.
Yep.
It's almost like she became a target.
Yes, like it was like playing in the common area.
Oh, no.
Didn't they say that?
Yes, she did.
Okay,
And
I was like, wait, did I just make that up?
No. She said that. And she said that people started to reach out to others that were in prison and they were like, you're in prison with Gypsy Rose. Like, she's famous.
Right.
Tell her this. So then it was like a target on her back. And she said people would come up to her and ask her for her autograph. And I think she just felt like she didn't ask for it to be this public. I think she said she appreciated the HBO documentary because she had part in it and she was able to tell her story and stuff. And it was based off of the truth, which the act was as well, but like it was a dramatization. Like,
right, like
it even said in the beginning, things and events and people have been dramatized.
Exactly.
She was mad.
I understand.
Me too.
Rightfully so. Okay, so now Gypsy Rose is out of prison.
Yeah.
And she has hit the ground running on social media. Y'all, she's everywhere.
She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. Like, we were even like, let's get her on the podcast. And then, I'm not kidding, like the next day, she's like on like E! News. She's on all
Morning
over
America.
TikTok. Good Morning America. Like, Claudia Oshry's like interviewing her at an event. I'm like, oh,
what's going on?
Oh, okay, like I thought we were ahead of the game here.
Right.
Clearly we were wrong. So she's really in the spotlight now to promote her new docuseries on Lifetime. That's where the interview was.
Yeah.
Apparently her husband Ryan was getting some hate on his Instagram also. So Gypsy commented, Ryan, don't listen to the haters. I love you and you love me. We do not owe anyone anything. Our family is who matters. If you get likes and good comments, great. If you get hate, then whatever, because they don't matter. I love you. Besides, they jealous because you are rocking my world every night. Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Happy wife, happy life. What do you think of her newfound like flame influencer persona era?
I think it's so interesting and also hilarious. She's funny. She's got a personality.
The D is fire.
The D is fire. She said what she said and she meant it. And he commented back, come and get it, baby. They're not joking around. One thing about Gypsy is she don't play behind her mans.
No. Like, don't mess with her mans. But I think it also just like goes to show like society today. Like,
it's like a Black Mirror episode.
it is literally like you're coming out of prison for murder.
Your mother.
Murder of your
Murder.
mother. And you are on Good Morning America.
She's got 6 million followers.
Like, and everything is about like being an influencer. It really is an episode of Black Mirror.
It 100% is. She's doing Get Ready With Me's. She's doing OOTDs for Good Morning America.
Like-
and she has no concept really of the way social media has evolved, because I think when she went to prison, it was Facebook. You know, it was like
Right.
the early stages.
Twitter.
Right. And now it's like, sis, social media is like, it's almost like a whole nother reality. I don't know. Social media itself is a whole episode we can do.
It really is.
But the nuances and the logistics and how much it can affect a person. So I'm a little worried.
Yeah. And she said, right, like this might be an overshare for her.
Right.
On the, I can't remember which podcast, but she was saying like, I didn't even know how to use Snapchat. And like
Yes.
we are light years beyond Snapchat now. It feels, you know?
It does. Yeah. So she's coming into really figuring out how to use social media. She claims though that, and I do see this, I do feel this to be true at least so far, that she wants to use her platform as a voice for advocating for Munchausen by proxy.
100% agree, as you should.
As you should.
As you should, but don't get caught up in the
It's so hard.
influencer lifestyle.
It's so
'Cause,
hard.
like, baby, getting that influx of likes and follows and good comments, like I could see where that would be like a little addicting.
Oh yeah, and I think it could change a person really quickly, really easily. And she's very well spoken. She has a good
Yes.
head on her shoulders. I think she's very self aware, and I just hope that she doesn't get eaten
Fall
up.
victim to the social media
I
life.
know, but at the same time, it's like if you wake up to 6 million followers overnight, like I would capitalize that on as well.
Absolutely.
You know, you
Like
would,
I'm
Brandale?
I'm preaching to myself.
yeah, exactly. We're just letting ourselves know. Don't get caught up.
Don't get caught up, sis.
But yeah, to wake up and be an overnight influencer like that is so crazy. So prayers to Gypsy for
Yeah.
like, I hope that she uses her platform for good. I really don't see any world in which she won't.
I think she's going to do good things with her future and her freedom.
Yeah,
At least I
really-
hope so.
I really like her husband too. I had listened to him a good bit on the Vile podcast, Vile Files. Yeah, that's what it's called. And You can totally tell he's from Louisiana.
Which we love.
He talks just like us. He's very cool. He's very down to earth. I don't get creepy vibes from him at all. He seems like a really good guy.
Do we know what part of Louisiana he's from?
They're from, I don't know. I really don't know. Somewhere like close in the Lafayette area. They have more of like a Cajun accent.
Like a Cajun accent?
Not
I think
like
it's so cute.
Me too. It's not like as down south as we do. They have more of like a Lafayette Cajun accent.
Do you have any hot takes or like anything that you use for like further research?
Really the act and the Hulu of
Yeah.
it all was the most interesting to me. And I have like some quotes that I wanted to read real quick because it just kind of shows Gypsy's attitude towards the show. So this is what she said about the Hulu show, The Act. She said, I am not thankful at all for how the act ripped me from my private life to public existence that even my mother couldn't have manifested with her most wicked spell. Because by the way, she does say that her mom was like into voodoo and like cast evil spells on her. I know. So she says, I was not consulted or compensated for a show that made actor Joey King a household name, which that is so shady.
That is shady.
I do think Joey King was kind of a household name before the act, but shady that she said that. And it definitely brought Joey King to light, a much bigger,
Right.
much bigger light. Because this show is huge. She said, I remember seeing Joey King glammed out on the red carpet, the stark contrast of our lives casting a dark shadow over me. Here I was in my prison cell, wearing my prison uniform, eating my disgusting prison food, while Hollywood celebrates itself. All I could think was, this girl tried to play me, and I had no control over it. Wow.
Damn.
Yeah. When she
This girl tried to play me and I had no control over it. Tried to play me.
Emphasis on the tried. That's tough. And wow, think about being in a prison cell and someone's walking on the Hollywood red carpet for playing you. And you're like, cool, I'm eating fucking stale bread.
Right.
With no butter.
I don't know, it's crazy.
There's one more thing she said. I didn't dream of things like going on American Idol or landing a big feature role playing another person like Joey King did. There's just more shade. I just wanted to
more shade.
Just wanted to let y'all know. She said, I never wished to be rich or famous. I wanted to be a veterinarian, a paleontologist, an artist, and yes, even a nun. Living the life I had with my mother, my only prayer was to have a normal, average life. Things today seem to be going in the opposite direction. As much as I have restricted the public role, it keeps finding me in a bigger, more transcendent ways. I know that doing 2 books, a Lifetime docuseries, and a follow-up series will look nothing like the private life I wish I had. People will criticize me. They'll accuse me of being a publicity hound or selling out or who knows what. But blessing like this have found me. And
Okay.
Yeah, they're coming to her. So it's like, would we not, take the opportunities presented to us? Probably not.
Right.
I would.
I think she's open now too.
Yeah, I think so too.
With the growth. So I have 2 things. For research purposes, I joined a Gypsy Rose Facebook group.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was actually pretty crazy because in the same group, it's like people that are so, I don't want to say like anti Gypsy Rose, but definitely like don't feel for her at all. And in the same group are people that are like, I live and breathe Gypsy Rose. Like she's living her best life.
Gypsy Rose diehards.
Yes. So it's very interesting. That's all I got on that. But it's fun to just like go through.
It is. And people, like I see that as well on social media. There's people who really back Gypsy and people who are really like, let's not give Gypsy a platform at all. So I definitely fall somewhere in the middle. Like I support Gypsy.
I'm neutral.
I'm indifferent.
What I do appreciate is that she's accountable and says like, I did what I did.
Yes.
And it's not right.
Exactly. And I still want to recognize and bring awareness to what she went through because that was 100% real too.
Yes, it was so real. So I think that it's just like, how could you not face some kind of like mental hardships?
I know. And something, I was talking about this with my mom, and this is huge speculation, but who knows what would have happened if Dee Dee didn't die. And I hate to say that, but like Gypsy might not have been here. Her mother was clearly that unwell that like Gypsy was getting older. She was getting clearly, it was obvious to Dee Dee, I think, that she was starting to become aware. Like I wouldn't put it past one day Dee Dee doing something that caused Gypsy's death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
or
she
like
couldn't
to
take
be
it.
stuck in a bed.
To be paralyzed or
Forever,
something. So that way she could never be free. She could never tell the world, and then that's just how her story could have ended. So you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good point. Did you see the Gypsy Rose and Natalie Nunn drama from Bad Girls Club?
No.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay. So I saw this on Twitter. I mean, no, lies. TikTok. Twitter's not even Twitter anymore.
X.
So I'll just like go very briefly. But 19 days into 2024, and screenshots showing a verbal tussle. This is from the Shade Room, so you know it's like. So a verbal tussle between Natalie Nunn and Gypsy Rose Blanchard have surfaced online. However, hours after they were both trending on social media, Natalie shut it down. She said it was fake gossip. But basically, Natalie Nunn has like a talk show, some kind of show, and she asked Gypsy to come on to be a host, and Gypsy declined.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the screenshot from Natalie. Hi, Gypsy. We're interested in you co-hosting the Baddies East reunion. Shoot us a message if you're interested.
That's wild that they're interested in her co-hosting
Right.
that.
And basically, I wish I still had the screenshots because I saw it in a video. I think they were taken down. But basically, she was just like, hi, thank you. I'm not interested. And then Gypsy posted them.
Gypsy posted them?
Posted the messages.
What was like her message? What did Gypsy want the people to know about? She felt like it was weird that they even asked her.
So I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But they were like, your girl was like, take these down now.
Well, you know, I think
Natalie.
this just goes to show that Gypsy doesn't know how to use social media yet.
Right.
Like
I don't think she was like trying to be like a bitch about it.
Right.
But like Gypsy Rose has not publicly reacted to the screenshots on her verified Instagram page.
Yeah, I think that Gypsy is, like we said, this is what's scary about it. Like she doesn't really know how some of these things work. And people are so quick to cancel people on the internet. Like Gypsy, you say one wrong thing and the internet will wreck you and can't try to cancel you. So I just hope that she...
So, and like the article goes on, I'm not going to read the whole article, but basically like that was kind of clarifying. Like my girl does not know.
She doesn't get it.
She doesn't get it
The
just
nuances
yet. Like,
of...
don't post the screenshots.
No.
Don't post your DMs.
No. Interesting.
But I did see a 1-star review for the book. Like, what would you give the book? Let's talk about that. Like, did you enjoy your time with it? I feel like that's kind of like what we always have to say.
Yes, I find this one hard to rate because I wasn't looking for it for any type of like literary satisfaction. I wasn't trying to get like a good story.
No.
I don't even know how I would rate it as on a 5-star scale, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was totally fine as far as the writing because it wasn't meant to be like a novel to be read that way. It was a lot of it was conversation based.
Yeah.
So
More informational.
Yeah, I thought it was short. Honestly, my only critique of it, and this is just my own wants, is that I would just wanted a little bit more about like the crime itself, I guess. Like,
yeah,
it was, but I guess that wasn't Gypsy's purpose for it. Like,
not
her
for
purpose
this one.
was to tell her feelings, not details on the crime.
Right.
So I liked it.
I agree with that. I think if I had to give it a star, I would just let it fall right in a 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It was fine.
But it served its purpose. So therefore, it was good.
Yeah.
But the 1-star, this is from Goodreads. This read like a superficial trailer for her upcoming full-length memoir, as well as a sales pitch for prison, God, and deep, sexy Southern accents.
Oh my God. First of all, I forgot how many times she talked about Ryan and said he had a deep, sexy Southern accent.
Yes.
That review's funny.
However, a 5-star review. The perfect appetizer to the full memoir coming out later this year. All opinions aside, I am excited to learn the true story of Gypsy Rose from the source herself. This book was such an easy read. I felt as if I was talking to a close friend through the entire thing.
Yeah. That's more or less how I felt. Gypsy's quirky. Like with her saying that her husband had the sexy accent and stuff, like she's very quirky. That comes across in every interview that she does. Like, so it didn't really bother me. She just made me giggle. Even in one part, she was like, I have nice boobs. Like, she just like randomly threw that
I have
in there.
nice boobs. But it just goes to show you, like, she's just a girl.
She's just a girl.
She's just a girl.
She's trying to figure it out. I wouldn't say this book was like life-changing.
No.
It didn't really even give me that much insight into what we already knew about the story.
Right.
So, do you think you'll read her memoir? I probably won't.
No.
I'm ready to part ways with Gypsy.
Yeah, I think, like, we've done our part.
Yeah.
We researched and we're done. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I think, honestly, this preview to the memoir gave me a lot. And so...
Well, it's also like, what more are you going to add?
Yeah. Besides the actual crime. Or maybe, like, detailing her life her life outside of prison.
Sorry about it.
That's okay.
Drop my phone.
Oh, no, hope it didn't crack.
Are you ready for the next on the shelf?
I'm ready.
It's been a minute since we've had a Next on the Shelf.
Yes.
Okay, so Next on the Shelf is going to be First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. Evie Porter has everything a nice Southern girl could want. A perfect doting boyfriend, a house with a white picket fence and a garden, a fancy group of friends. The only catch, Evie Porter doesn't exist. The identity comes to Evie Porter once she's given a name and location by her mysterious boss, Mr. Smith. She learns everything there is to know about the town and the people in it. Then the target, Ryan Sumner. The last piece of the puzzle is the job. Evie isn't privy to Mr. Smith's real identity, but she knows this job will be different. Ryan has gotten under her skin and she's starting to envision a different sort of life for herself. But Evie can't make any mistakes, especially after what happened last time. Because the one thing she's worked her entire life to keep clean, the one identity she could always go back to, her real identity, just walked right into this town. Evie Porter must stay one step ahead of her past while making sure there's still a future in front of her. The stakes couldn't be higher, but then Evie has always liked a challenge. So this book had a combined rating of a 4.3 with a 24,957 ratings and 3,841 reviews.
Wow. Seems like a very popular book right now.
Yeah, it is. It's like being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I started reading like the first like 3 pages. I'm not going to lie. It's like has like when I read the excerpt, I'm like, damn, this does not feel like the same book.
Really?
But I'm only 3 pages in.
Well, just now that little summary, I'm like, what is this book about?
I know.
I'm interested. I'm definitely intrigued.
I'm not going to lie. When I first read it, I was like, is this the wrong book?
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't match.
It's not matching. Interesting. Like with the pages that you've read?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Like I'm like,
let's dive in and find out.
yeah. Oh, you know what I don't know if we talked about before we kind of in?
What?
Buy us a coffee.
Oh, yeah. Let's mention that. Yeah.
Okay, so we are now on Buy Us a Coffee. Technically, it's Buy Me a Coffee, but there's 2 of us. So Buy Us a Coffee.
So it's called Buy Me a Coffee?
Buy Me a Coffee.
Okay.
So the idea behind Buy Me a Coffee is to provide a user-friendly and simple way for creators to receive some support.
Yeah.
And your girls are always, looking for support, mostly to like get new equipment and, just keep making the pod better for all of us.
Yeah, it's just to expand the podcast really and just to
Yeah.
make it like a really high quality experience for everybody listening.
For everybody listening.
Yeah.
Which, we've already kind of started doing.
Mm-hmm. We got new microphones. We got a fancy camera.
A camera.
Yeah.
Like, we're just little girls
We're
with
trying to make it big.
big dreams.
Yeah, and we want everybody to like enjoy the podcast.
Literally enjoy your time with us. We want it to feel like you're just hanging with your girls.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, consider, buying us a coffee. You can find us at buymeacoffee.com/theopenbookspodcast.
It's super easy, and I think we'll have the links in our Instagram, right?
Yes.
And I'll try to put it in the show notes description too. So
That's
if you
perfect.
enjoy listening and you want to keep listening and you want us to like keep expanding so we can keep doing this, buy us a little coffee.
Buy us a little coffee.
It could be $2. We don't care. Literally. We
It
love
can be
y'all
$2.
so much.
Yes, love you and thank y'all for just always supporting us.
Yes, and thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts on Miss Gypsy. The D is fire.
The D is fire.
The D is fire. You sounded like the D is fire. She said what she said. And she meant
Okay.
it.
Love
All right,
y'all.
love y'all. Bye.